blessed risings, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where in the world you are tapping in from. You have to remember, keep it in mind now, that Keep It P podcast is a global show. And today we will be discussing U.S. state black candidate wears noose. Dun 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 dun. In new ad campaign, and everybody's up in arms over it. We're going to get into this and unpack this more on this episode of Keep It P podcast, Hold the Mayo edition.
Music teaser.
Is the fucking best.
This is the Keep It P podcast where we take news, situations, and everyday occurrences and we show how one could or cannot be keeping it P. And today I am your host, TZ Von Savage, in the place to be Sucker MCs. Self-hug, self-love, that's a beatbox and a b-boy stance. You may have thought that was corny, but what's even more corny is if we let the culture die, y'all. And you know what's even more corny than that? Accepting anything but cold hard cash as forms of reparations. That's corny, ladies and gentlemen. That's where the real corn comes in at. All right, y'all, let's unpack this article. I'll let you guys see the ad. We'll play the ad. But first, let's get into this. On the screen here, you got Rand Paul, and then you have the brother, Charles Booker. This isn't an endorsement. Shout out Jay Lava. Not trying to tell you how to think, trying to show you how to think. Hello, Meg Flizzle. And I'm also not bashing the brother either because we don't do disparaging on here. What we do is provide you with the information, and you are to make the decision that is best for the group. That's called being on code. Kentucky State Senate candidate Charles Booker. He's a Democrat. They want you to know that. Wears a noose in a new campaign ad that criticizes GOP Senator Rand Paul for blocking federal anti-lynching legislation in 2020. You do know Rand Paul's a racist. Regardless what platform the brother's on, you know what platform Rand Paul's on. You know what? I even know some black people who voted for him, right? All skin folk ain't kinfolk. Charles Booker, the Democratic nominee for Senate in Kentucky, wears a noose in a new ad campaign that blasts Senator Rand Paul for initially opposing legislation to make lynching a federal hate crime. No, he means he still opposed it later. No, you don't oppose it and then later unoppose it. It means you still oppose it. You just were finessed into it. In Kentucky, like many states throughout the South, lynching was a tool of terror. Who used that tool of terror? Who used the tool of terror called lynching? Is this why you guys don't want it in the school, right? CRT? It's never been taught in the school, by the way. Only in college courses, by the way. What, do you not want little Johnny and Susie to know about your horrific atrocities that you caused? You don't want them to know about the lynching that was used? Didn't it happen? Isn't it true? Right. But you don't want them to feel bad. But all the black kids and the terror that it caused, no, they can know about it. Just not little Johnny and Susie, of course not. He continues to say about it being a tool of terror, Booker, the first black candidate to win the Democratic nomination. That's it. Like, he's the first. Just period. For Senate in Kentucky says in the ad, they always want you to know about the first. He's the first. He's the first. He's the first. Nah, we've been doing all this. Did you know that black people created government? Did you know that? Right. Those are facts. You can try to twist them and add your mayo to them all you like, but that is factual. Continues on. It was used to kill hopes for freedom. It was used to kill my ancestors. Right. But y'all gonna vote for the other man though, right? Right? This is why they don't want CRT in nowhere. Not the job. They don't want it at the job. Critical race theory. No, it's called race truths. Critical race truths. CRT. Critical race truths. Lynching is a tool of terror. He mentions again, it was used to kill hopes for freedom. He mentions that again. In Kentucky, it was used to kill 3 of my uncles. Why we gotta sweep this under the rug, America? Huh? You don't think there's no need for reparations? Right? You guys go to a little war and you done shot a couple times in the war and you got PTSD for life, right? What about the trauma from, I don't know, slavery, lynching, your uncles being lynched? See, they make slavery sound like that was 400 years ago. That was years of 400 years ago. That was hundreds of years ago. Right? You think he's talking about hundreds of years ago with his uncles? He didn't say great uncles. He didn't say that. Right. So this is recent history. This is why reparations is important. We're still talking about lynching. Wasn't 400 years ago. You guys just were lynching. You still got some hitting lynching going on now. That they just were hanging from the tree. We don't know what happened. It was a suicide. So they hung themselves from the tree. In this historic election, I don't know why it's historic. It would be historic that you guys don't vote in another racist. That would be historic. The choice is clear. Rand Paul may want to divide us, but hate won't win this time. Hate been winning. Hate been winning. In 2020, Paul blocked the Senate from unanimously passing the Emmett Till Antilynching Act, and he still got voted in, right? Y'all still ride for him. Even you black people, you over there riding for him. A bill to strengthen sentencing requirements for lynching crimes, arguing that it was too broadly written. What does that mean? Broadly written? Yeah, if you attempt to lynch somebody, you should go down. If you say you're going to lynch somebody, you should go down. You don't have to just physically all the way put the noose on the neck, make them hang, and now that's lynching. No, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to make lynching so specific that it has to be with a rope. It can't be with like a nylon string. It has to be exactly with fibrous rope. It has to be such and such millimeters thick. It has to go around the neck and cut off such and such amounts of pressure. We got to get into all of that. You just can't say we don't want no lynching of black people. No lynching of black people. Well, there could be certain reasonings where there could be cause for a lynching. Look at his face. He looked like, well, there could be, like, do you know there is some reasons, right? It goes on to say the Senate was attempting to pass the bill named for the black teenager lynched in Mississippi in 1955 on the day of funeral services for George Floyd, the black man murdered by Minneapolis police in 2020. He like, nah, I don't care what you're trying to do. Symbolism. That's why I tell y'all, stop going for all this symbolism. Who cares? Who cares about the Lynching Act? Who cares about any of that? Focus on reparations. Zero AntiBlack Racism.com. You see it. Has your granny signed it yet? Then you ain't did your job. And you're going to keep letting little busters like this get in, racist, white supremacist race soldiers. Booker's ad also criticizes other controversial statements Paul has made. He's made plenty of them, including saying in 2011 that a right to health care means that you believe in slavery. A right to health care is the same as slavery. See, that's why y'all don't want it taught. That's why y'all don't want critical race truths taught. Even though it wasn't being taught anyways, but this is why you don't want it taught. You don't, because you know, once the truth is exposed, you got to cut that check because that would be responsible. Right? And you guys are responsible. Americans are responsible. You're accountable and you do the most responsible thing. You have morals. Where? Except slavery. Where's all this moral fortitude Americans have? But not when it comes to reparations. No. Morals are out the window. And his past criticism of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. My opponent, Booker says, as the ad shows an image of Paul, the very person who compared expanded health care to slavery. I don't even know how you compare anything to slavery. What is comparable to slavery? The Holocaust ain't even comparable to slavery. Y'all just was killed, P. You wasn't forced to work, P, and build a nation. You didn't build Germany. You didn't build Germany. What are you talking about? I'm not downplaying it like it was nothing, but it wasn't slavery. Not the same. The person who said he would have opposed the Civil Rights Act, this is this man. He would have said no. The person who single-handedly blocked an anti-lynching act from being federal law. As if it's a big deal. It's not even a nothing. The federal law was a nothing. And he still was like, nah. White is right. If it ain't for the white, I ain't gonna fight. That's what he said. Paul's blockade of the 2020 anti-lynching legislation drew criticism from civil rights leaders and Democrats, including then Senator Kamala Harris. Like she done did anything. But look, just not talk about all the people you done locked up. Harris, who is now vice president, slammed Paul at the time for trying to weaken a bill that was already passed by seeking to amend it. Paul claimed in response that he wanted to alter the bill not because I take lynching lightly, but because I take it seriously, and this legislation does not. How? He argued that the bill would define lynching so broadly as to include a minor bruise or abrasion. You should go down that if you attacked a black man or woman, regardless if they suffer a minor bruise or abrasion, you should go down for a hate crime. That should be called anti-lynching because you were going to lynch them and you just didn't get the chance. Just like attempted murder, well, attempted lynching. What's the difference? You should be held accountable because you didn't go through and get to finish the complete act of lynching means that you are not guilty of lynching? Is that what we're saying here, Mr. Senator Rand Paul? The Senate ultimately passed anti-lynching legislation in March of this year, more than a century after the effort to make lynching a federal crime originally began. Took them. Are y'all hearing this? This is your great United States. We're so united, and we're being divisive by talking about race and lynching that you in 100 years couldn't make anti-lynching a law. You were so in love with lynching black people that you didn't want to outlaw it. You have laws on the book for cruelty to animals that are more harsh than if you do something to a black person. You get more opposition for crimes to protect black people than you do to protect animals. And what I'm saying is factual. Paul co-sponsored the legislation which he had addressed his concerns, blah, 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 man. Oh, concerns that previous legislation would lead to over-sentencing in some cases. Over-sentencing of white people? What do you mean? Like the over-sentencing of black people throughout the decades that are filled up the prison system? School to prison pipeline, perhaps? Now you're worried about over sentencing when it comes to anti-lynching. That's where you draw the line. That's where you draw the line. Not the difference between crack cocaine and cocaine. No, no, no. Over sentencing for anti-black racism. You was worried about that, Rand Paul. It goes on to say he worked together with Senators Cory Booker, Hakuna Matata, Senator Tim Scott, Hakuna Matata, to get this right and ensure the language of this bill defines lynching as the absolutely heinous crime that it is. You don't have to lynch somebody to just be the heinous crime. Hating black people is a heinous crime. Senator Rand Paul. Just like he came with the anti-Asian hate crime bill, you said it's just a heinous crime to even hate Asians. Why isn't it a heinous crime to hate black people? Why, Mr. Rand Paul? Because you would be guilty. That's why. You're worried about your brother. You're worried about your uncle. You're worried about your son who participate in anti-black racism being over sentenced. That's what you're worried about. Shout out Mr. J Lava. We're on air with the Rand Paul. Tapping in, sir. Just on air, sir. Finishing up an episode. Yeah, I'm almost done. I'm just finishing up. We got you on air though. This is J Lava, y'all. Make sure y'all tap in. Sir. And I will tap in with you just briefly within a few minutes, sir. Just closing them on out. Yes, sir. Mr. J Lava, y'all. Love and blessings, sir. Yes, sir. That's how we do it. Hashtag KIPP. Goes on to say Jake Cox, Paul's deputy campaign manager, reiterated that Paul had worked to improve the legislation, which is lies, and said Booker's ad misrepresents the senator's views on the issue. It does not. It does not. He broke it all the way down because he wanted it to be very specific that his relatives weren't getting overcharged for anti-black racism. That's what happened. He tried to walk back comments that he made about the Civil Rights Act. No, you said it. He also claimed in 2013 he never wavered in his support for the landmark law, insisting that he had merely disputed how much of the remedy for discrimination against black people should come under federal or state or private purview. What? That's why I just cut our check, fam, and you ain't got to worry about protecting us federally, state. Who do you think should protect us? We're Americans, right? What are you talking about? What's the remedy for discrimination against black people? Charge them. But you're worried about over-sentencing, though, right? When it comes to anti-black racism, right? He originally said, though, that he opposed a key section of the law that made it illegal for private businesses to discriminate based on race. He wanted to make that legal. So any white business you go into, he wants to make it legal that they can turn you away. I'm telling you, idiots, stop shopping with people that don't like you anyways. And yes, I'm calling you an idiot if you continuously shop with someone who doesn't like you. That in fact hates your guts. That in fact takes the money that you spend with them to endorse candidates that don't like you, to endorse legislation that is against you. You pay for people to treat you bad, black people. And it's a shame. When is enough enough? When is enough enough? Kentuckians. But, hey, you like it, I love it. Not everybody's gonna make it, black people. All skin folk ain't kin folk. That's what I want to leave you with. That's what I want to leave you with. And I ain't gonna hold you. I'm just gonna mold you, scold you, and fold you. Because I done told you about being on code. Yes, yes. We done told you there, boy. Come on now, P, get it together. Now, what's the P stand for? For the people. We do this for the people, y'all. That's what I'm trying to told you now. 4 words. Love, peace. Sometimes you need this peace to get this peace. And blessings. Be a blessing. Give a blessing. Receive a blessing. And aloha, y'all. High and by, y'all. Full circle. It's never one or the other because we continuously are together if we are on code. Make sure you sign the petition. Make sure your granny signs the petition. ZeroAntiBlackRacism.com. Kendra's going to tell you more about that. Love y'all.
Be one to the family. This is Kendra Blackwood of Hot Lava Music TV and the Hot Lava Media Group. And I come to you today with an urgent call to action. And with that being said, this petition is to demand the U.S. government immediately make anti-black racism a public health crisis is now an active campaign at change.org. And after this message I'm going to need you to go over there and show your support. Right after you smash that like and subscribe if you have not already. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications. It doesn't cost you a thing. Now, this is a petition to demand cash reparations for foundational black Americans addressing 2 critical components. So what is anti-black racism? Anti-black racism is defined here as policies and practices rooted in American institutions such as government, finance, education, healthcare, and justice that mirror and reinforce economic deprivation, racially targeted laws, beliefs, attitudes, prejudice, stereotyping and/or discrimination toward foundational black Americans. What is a public health crisis, you ask? Well, a health crisis or public health crisis is a difficult situation or complex health system that affects humans in one or more geographic areas, from a particular locality to encompass the entire planet. Health crises generally have significant impacts on community health, loss of life, and on the economy. And ultimately the solution to the problem, it is imperative that the United States government declare anti-Black racism a public health crisis for foundational Black Americans. In 2020, as a community, Asian Americans experienced only 287 hate crimes nationwide. However, FBA in the same year suffered 2,871 reported hate crimes. As we know, those are just the reported accounts according to the F.B.I. As foundational Black Americans, we know that the number should reach in the billions daily. This resulted in a 94-1 unanimous decision to pass into law an anti-Asian hate crime provision to make Asian a protected class. With anti-Black racism being thousands of times more prevalent and permeating within the fabric of America, we ask that you sign this petition to say we are sick of studies and commissions to study forums and meaningless holidays and nothing burger symbolic gestures. We demand the U.S. government to urgently disperse the first initial reparations cash payment of $20 trillion to the surviving descendants of American chattel slavery. AKA, cut the damn check. And I mean that. Jack. On my ancestors for real for real. I proudly digress. Anyway. Check out the new Slave Patrol documentary. Pull up season on you sucker MCs. Don't forget to join us on Patreon. I got 4 words for you. Go grab a shirt. And love, peace, blessings and Maloa. Be one.